that there is an organizing principle that is not on the page that will have to be invoked in order to get through it. We have the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill.
Yeah.
If God came to me and said, first and foremost, thou shalt not kill, I'd be afraid to get out of my chair for fear of stepping on a bug. All the rest
That's right.
all the rest is interpretation.
How do you read? Yeah.
The rest is interpretation. And now I have this problem. Thou shalt not kill. But what I have is I got my family, and we're surrounded by thieves and robbers, and they're shooting. And now all of a sudden I have this quandary. How do I protect my family? Do I protect the life of my family? Or do I kill the people who are coming toward me? In all cases, this scenario, the circumstance, has to be interpreted by some sense that's not on the page.
That's right. I think it's just like the law. If writing was the end of the issue, why would you need lawyers? Why would you need Congress to endlessly look at the application of it? It's beautiful. Whenever a law is written, someone will come along and do something that doesn't quite fit.
That's right.
Perfectly under the wording, and interpretation will be forced on us all, and something else has to come in to bear. And I think there is a sense, there is a sense in the human mind of what's fair or what's right. And it's more than simply a moral law. I think it's more than just what's been traditionally done. There's a sense at some level, you can't do that.
Yes.
Somebody will say it. You know?
Yeah, this rule of law thing that we have going on, we have many people that are in prison as casualties of our need to protect the mindless rule of law. It's difficult to do these interpretations. You have to risk
very
some
challenging.
things.
Yeah.
It's not easy. I've had judges tell me that they have looked into the eyes of a person that they have sentenced and know that they are doing the wrong thing, but they are following the law, that the punishment is disproportionate for the crime that's been committed, and yet they have no power within the scope of the law to change the sentence.
The very same paradox is right in the New Testament, in the Gospels. There's so much emphasis on Jesus fulfilling the law, and he came to fulfill these ancient prophecies and so forth. And he did everything right. You know, he went to the temple at the right time, and he showed up at all the feasts you're supposed to show up at. And yet, when his disciples are picking grain on the Sabbath, and he gets called on this, he says, haven't you read about how David broke right into the Holy of Holies, and not the Holy of Holies, but right outside that was the table of showbread. He broke right in there where only priests were allowed to go. He grabbed the bread and he ate it because he was hungry.
Yes.
And Jesus uses this as an example to people who are attacking him about eating on the Sabbath. And there's a fascinating paradox in there about what is that law? What was Jesus following? What is that law? Because the Old Testament has chapters and chapters about who's allowed in that room or not. And
yes.
David broke right in, broke all the rules. And Jesus seems to sanction that. And I love his conclusion, which is that the Sabbath, human beings were not made to conform to the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made for people. It was made to feed people. And he does all these healings on the Sabbath and says,
Makes one wonder if Christ would be welcome in a fundamentalist congregation.
It's a challenging question.
I want to talk a little, we've gone off on these wonderful tangents, but I want to talk a little about the new church.
Yes.
Now, the new church was actually founded, about a decade after Swedenborg's passing?
Yes, I think 1787 is the official date, so that was within about 15 years of his death. Founded in London, England. And over time there have been 4 bodies of the church have developed, 2 of them centered in Bryn Athyn, Pennsylvania. Another one is the General Convention of the new church, which is in the United States primarily, and then a conference in England and Australia, other parts of the world. Each of these organizations is relatively global, or it crosses national boundaries. The church that I'm a part of has people in Ghana, and South Africa, and Sweden, and so forth.